That's a big question, Brenda says. If not already, please address why some people get skin cancer and others don't. What is deficient in their nutrition? Could liver not working optimally promote, exacerbate skin cancer? There's a lot of factors in skin cancer. And I would say probably the biggest factor in cancer, whether it's skin cancer or any form of cancer, is diet choice. And so diet is, we try to find what is the uniform diet for everybody to follow to not get cancer. There isn't one. There's no such thing. And anybody who's trying to sell you a uniform diet to heal all cancer is wrong. Because there are some people that eat a certain way and it's beneficial, but another person may eat that same way and it's detrimental. And so this comes back to how do you prevent without knowing? Well, one of the ways that I would encourage you, if you're trying to prevent something like cancer, or if you've had cancer and you're trying to prevent a recurrence of cancer, is to test your food, test your nutrition, your vitamin and mineral status, so that you can make adjustments, so that you can reduce or minimize your risk, through proper nutrition of all disease, not just cancer, but of all disease. Should I stay outside when there's chemtrails in the sky? Good question. I mean, the reality is you got to go outside. We have chemtrails up there. Is it a greater risk to be outside when there's a chemtrail, or is there a greater risk to not go outside at all? I think you got to get sunshine. I think you've got to control what you can, and sunlight exposure is definitely one of those things. My test revealed very high levels of vitamin K in my system. What could cause this? Supplementation. Depends on what you eat, and it depends on what kind of vitamin K was tested and how it was tested. I mean, if you were serum tested, I wouldn't hold too much weight in that test. Serum testing, you could have higher levels because of something that you ate before you got your blood work done, because serum is not an accurate representation of long-term status of nutrients. So let's see, let's go down on both sides. Let's go down on the right. Can a 7-month-old baby be low in vitamin D? Oh, where'd that go? There we go. Barb's asking, can a 7-month-old baby be low in vitamin D? This baby starts to cry, goes ballistic, stops breathing, and then passes out. It scares the you-know-what out of all of us. I bet it does. Prayers with you, Barb. Yes, a 7-month-old can definitely be low in vitamin D, especially so many parents, minimize any kind of exposure that an infant baby gets out of fear for the potential problem. But yeah, absolutely a 7-month-old, especially if mom going through pregnancy wasn't checking or monitoring or making sure her vitamin D levels were up, and especially if mom's levels are down and she's breastfeeding, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. It will go through breast milk. Breast milk can be a rich source of vitamin D for the infant baby breastfeeding. I like that. So Rose shares her story. When I took those kinds of drugs, I did have to wear sunglasses. Now I hardly take any drugs and eye sensitivity is gone. Love to hear that. Not sure I understand your question, Cindy. What about rosacea? What about rosacea? Clarify for me. Okay, so rosacea in the sun. So you go outside and your rosacea gets worse. You've got something triggering that. There's probably, again, a big food issue. If you're going out in the sun and your rosacea gets worse, there's going to be an underlying issue. I've seen that happen hundreds and hundreds of times, and women in particular. Rosacea is exacerbated by heat and hot beverages, but usually it's exacerbated but not caused by. And so it sounds to me like it's just an exacerbation, but not an actual cause. Is it imperative to keep the stress levels down? Prayer truly helps. Yeah, okay, so that wasn't a question. Do tanning beds provide any benefits? I think I answered that. They do, but it's how you use them. Don't use them to tan. Use them to get that small dose exposure periodically through winter months, especially if you live up north. I get burned on certain days no matter how long I expose my skin. No corresponding correlation to the cloud cover, atmospheric conditions, other days. Where do you live? Because there's some place in New Zealand and Australia where exposure can be more powerful, and so less time, and that's true of people that live in the mountains as well. I turned on my other laptop and the PowerPoint slide is much clearer. Go figure. Yeah, so okay, good. So that was your computer, not ours. Not good. Hopefully, glad you got it figured out. Do clear safety glasses block your ability to make melatonin from the sun? Generally not, unless they have like a coating on them. Some of them still, even though they're clear, have a coating. Like a lot of your windows will have a coating, even though it's clear, that does reflect the sun. So I would look at calling the people that made the glasses to ensure one way or the other. Is it true that you don't get the benefits of vitamin D if you shower? No, not true. I actually asked Michael Hollick that question. Michael Hollick is arguably the world's leading expert on vitamin D. And I asked him that question a few years ago when I put on the Autoimmune Revolution, the Autoimmune Revolution Summit. And his answer directly to me was no, that showering after sunshine has zero effect on your vitamin D, and I believe it. And if you think about it, that the dihydrocholesterol and the vitamin D production happens in a deep layer of the skin. It doesn't happen right on the surface. And skin does not need 3 days without water to make vitamin D. Remember, your body's 70% water. So I don't know where you read that, but probably not a good source. I like this comment. Just a comment on grain-free. I've gone grain-free and no more inflammation. My dog had swelling and inflammation around her spine. I fed her grain-free food treats and no more issues. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing. That's fantastic to hear. New parents are doing vitamin D drops for newborns. Seems like a big push. What's your take on it? How do babies get D3 before drops? Healthy parents. Healthy mothers really provided good level of vitamin D in the breast milk for babies. Moms today aren't healthy. I mean, and I'm generalizing. Don't come at me and attack me and say, you said all moms aren't healthy. No, the vast majority of Americans aren't healthy. They're over 50% are overweight. They're malnourished. They eat like garbage. They don't exercise. They're on computer devices all day long. They don't get sunshine. They don't sleep well. They have chronic pain issues. I mean, America spent $4.2 trillion last year for drugs and healthcare. $4.2 trillion. That's 20% of the entire budget for the entire country. So 20% went to medicines and medical care. And probably 90% of that money didn't have to be spent if people would just wake up to the fact that they need to change their diet and change their lifestyle and their way that they're living and quit following the advice of the people that landed us in this situation in the first place, which is public health policy. Public health policy is wrong. It always is wrong. It's because it's bought and sold for by media and by companies that want to sell you stuff. They want to scare you into doing things that actually are helpful and then sell you stuff as a solution. And so they spend trillions of dollars lobbying politicians to create policy that makes no sense, right? And then gullible people everywhere believe it because they can't fathom that the government would somehow not have their best interests in mind. Look, realize that nobody has your best interests in mind. And I'm not picking on the government, but ultimately nobody has your best interests in mind except you. And so you have to stand up and take personal responsibility, and you have to make good decisions, and you have to think about the decisions that you're making, how they're impacting your health and your life. And if you're not willing to do that, and you're just trusting somebody else to do it for you, I can promise you're going to be diseased and disappointed. Very few guarantees in life, but that's one of them. The government's been wrong on virtually almost everything they've done. Where did I go off tangent there? What was the question? So how did babies get vitamin D before? So I think babies had healthier parents and more robust parents, and parents that they got sunshine and actually ate real food. And today we just see less and less and less of that. And so we are seeing a whole new generation of illness in children as a result of those behavioral changes. I got halo moles from sun damage. Doctor said my skin is smart because it ate the damaged mole. Is this true? I'm covered in moles. It's hard for me to make that determination. I mean, I'd probably need to look at pictures and have a deeper history there. But that sounds like a doctor just making something up. Again, maybe not, but that's what it sounds like to me. If I'm gluten-free and eating healthy, will I still get sunspots? There's a lot of reasons people can get sunspots that have nothing to do with gluten. So it's possible, but it's also possible that you won't. It's hard to know. I mean, Cindy, without having more history about your nutrition and your other food, it's hard to answer that question. Why do people say that the sun exposure causes signs of skin aging and wrinkles? Because they're trying to sell you wrinkle-free cream, and they're trying to sell you lotions and potions that are youth-defying serums and masks and all other kind of nonsense. You need sunlight. And again, if you overexpose your skin to sun, overexpose, and that's a big fine line difference, then yeah, you can damage the skin and damage the collagen that prevents the skin from being elastic. But again, that's generally caused by poor diet and abuse of sunshine. And so again, exposure to the sun is not the same thing as abuse. Let's see. Do you know that UVC is now being detected at ground level? Not sure I see the whole question there. Yeah, so somebody asked about blueberries. How many blueberries for sun protection? I don't think anybody's really studied that in humans directly, Cindy, but I can just tell you what I do personally. I eat about 4 ounces of blueberries anytime I know I'm going to be out in the sun for any length of time. So like this weekend, I was mowing my yard, and I ate 4 ounces of blueberries. Actually, I went out to my blueberry bush and picked 4 ounces of blueberries and ate them before I started mowing. But blueberries are a great food if you're not allergic to them, and definitely can pass on some of their photopigments to help protect your skin from the radiation. Is there a natural product which I can use to tighten the skin of my neck since I'm losing weight from not eating gluten? Yeah, the best natural product in the world that costs you $0 is exercise, Sandy. And I don't say that jokingly. Like, if the skin in your neck is looser, then you need to work the muscles in your neck. And there's several exercises that you can do. One of the best neck exercises that will work the muscles in the front, the platysma muscles and the sternocleidomastoid muscles, is sit-ups. It's just going down and doing sit-ups, because when you go back, you're putting that gravitational force on the head. You have to hold your head erect as you go back in the sit-up, and so it really helps to strengthen those muscles. Remember, if you can make those muscles a little bit larger and a little bit firmer, it's going to take away some of the skin sag that you experience with the weight loss. You might also try collagen. We have something called ultra collagen that might be effective for you in that regard as well. I like that. So Mark says, my mother was very fair and never sunbathed, but her vitamin D level was over 100 and she lived to 98. Yeah, you don't have to sunbathe. Again, that's not what tonight's show is about, but good point. I mean, she had regular exposure, I would imagine, just didn't sunbathe. And she might have eaten more organ meat. Again, organ meat is a very big missing element to most people's diets today. Is it okay to expose testicles to sunlight every day? I do it for testosterone increase. Yeah, interestingly, there have been some pretty good studies on testosterone improvement with sunlight exposure to the testes directly. Yeah, again, don't burn them. Sensitive area to burn. What's the best vitamin for fighting fatigue? The one you're deficient in, Debbie. The one you're deficient in, so test it. Can rosacea be from gluten in makeup? Yes, I've seen that be the case. Is it beneficial to expose, where'd it go? There it is. To expose yourself even when it's cloudy. I don't feel the benefits of sunlight when it's hidden by clouds. Yeah, there's still some benefit, even on a cloudy day. Babies sitting in the grass while mama hung clothes on the line. Yes, that's kind of what we should probably look at going back toward a little bit. I think in society today, we've really traded our common sense for convenience, and we've allowed people to make decisions about our autonomous selves because we've given our trust to the wrong people. And I think part of that, I'll go on a little rant here, part of that occurred, when antibiotics came on the scene. In the earlier 1900s, antibiotics created, in my opinion, the miraculous life-saving ability of antibiotics to work, right? So you could take somebody who's going to lose a leg or lose a limb or even potentially die, and you could save their life with an antibiotic. That, in my opinion, projected doctors onto a pedestal of godlike proportions, right? And we should have no false idols. And so I think what happened is a generation of people through antibiotics, they gave the doctors too much credit. The doctors had this wonderful tool, and I'm not saying that we should, poo-poo antibiotics in that discovery, but what I am saying is that that's what created a lot of trust in a medical system. But if you look at the success of that same medical system today, let's just track it through from then to today, really, there's one drug class that actually treats disease and can be effective. And that drug class are the antimicrobials. So like there are certain antivirals, like ivermectin, antimalarials, again, ivermectin, and antibiotics, penicillin, and antifungals that actually do what they say they're supposed to do, which is treat the infection itself. And there's a benefit to that. There's an effect that is helpful. But look at every other class of medicine. And I challenge any of you to name a class of medicine that actually treats the cause of a person's illness. Because none of the other classes do. They treat the symptoms of the illness. Now, they don't even treat the symptoms. And we can say treat all day long, but what does it mean to treat? Let's call it what it is. They cover your body's alarm system. They stop your body from warning you to make a change. That's pseudo treatment. It's false treatment because it's not really helping you. It has the guise of compassion because, if it's a pain medicine, we're getting you out of pain. But the reality is we're allowing you to continue to make the same mistakes you've been making, but hiding those mistakes from you by sweeping it under the rug with medicines that suppress your body's ability to feel the world around you and to interact with the world around you. And that's not a great trade. But again, I think the discovery of antibiotics, it put doctors on a pedestal, it put medicine on this pedestal that people, more than anything, they dogmatically worshipped at the altar of medicine and the miracle of antibiotics and stopped thinking and taking responsibility for what they should do. And they gave all the credit and all that responsibility over to the doctor. And to the doctor's defense, that's not fair. Like when people come see me, I don't want the responsibility of their health. It's the last thing in the world I want. That's a huge and tremendous responsibility. I want to play a role in guiding them into how they can achieve it, but I certainly don't want to have that responsibility thrust upon my shoulders to solve it with a passive drug treatment that really isn't going to solve anybody's problem. And so here we are today, right? Here we are today with this naive trust in a system that literally spent $4.2 trillion last year and ranks number 11th of 11 industrialized countries, the top 11 industrialized countries in the world. We rank 11th, but spend more than anyone else. And if that doesn't tell you that empirically we have a failed system, I don't know what to say to convince you otherwise. Let's see here. If you can't control diabetes with your diet is wrong, Nancy. So get with somebody who can help you with that. Terry says, I've had squamous cell twice, once on the shoulder, once on the head. I baked in the sun as a teen in the 70s. What can I do to repair my body? Follow the 7 fundamentals, Terry. And if you don't have a copy of No Grain, No Pain, they're in there, but I would encourage you to check it out. It's pretty simple. Eat well, eat right for yourself. Sleep well, exercise well, get regular, moderate sunshine. Drink clean water, breathe clean air, and manage and mitigate your stress. Those 7 are non-negotiable, and do those things well, and that gives your body the best opportunity at protecting you from future events. I get sun, eat meats, fats, butter, mostly green vegetables, but I get headache that starts in the back of the head, neck, and traps after I eat. What is that? You're probably allergic to something you're eating. It's very common to have something called viscerosomatic pain referral. That is when you eat something that irritates your intestines, especially if you're talking about back here. If you irritate the stomach or irritate the esophagus, you can get referred pain patterns to the shoulders, to the neck, to the musculoskeletal tissues that share that same nerve distribution. So I'd encourage you to investigate that as a potential possibility. So processed yogurts and processed breakfast cereals have the quantity of vitamin D that's the equivalent of trying to spit out a forest fire. There's nothing much in there that's going to be super effective. Metformin is a great drug, but don't get me wrong, everyone needs to keep their blood sugar down. Metformin, I would argue that, Greg. I would say metformin's not a great drug. I would say metformin offers a false sense of security to the millions of diabetics who haven't been taught to change their diet or their lifestyle. There are some doctors that recommend metformin for longevity, but metformin is also genotoxic, so it's toxic to the genome of humans, and that's not something that you want to trade off. If you want the same kind of effect of metformin without the genotoxicity, I would encourage berberine, which is a natural plant-based compound. Is diabetes reversible? Type 2 diabetes is definitely reversible, Isabella. The inflammation caused by the cereals will slow down absorption. Okay, I think I got them all. We're like 18 minutes over. If I didn't get to your question, come back next week, and hopefully we'll get it next week. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. And if you want more from Dr. Osborne, I want you to encourage you to come visit me at glutenfreesociety.org. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. Again, it's the one way we can communicate where we're certain we won't be censored. So sign up there if you want to get more. And if you want to get the show notes from our Monday night shows, that's where you can get those notes as well. Again, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Monday night for another episode of Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain. Take care. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.